Fleet Commander Zarketh of the Proximan hegemony adjusted his ceremonial battle armor and gazed through the command viewport at the alien vessel they had cornered near the edge of what these humans called their territory. 3 months of careful stalking had led to this moment, the first capture of one of these mysterious newcomers to the galactic stage. Tactical assessment, he ordered, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 17 different species. The vessel appears to be a primitive warship, Commander, reported Lieutenant Vexai from her station. Approximately 1,200 meters in length, basic metal hull construction, conventional propulsion, no visible energy shields, no phase technology, no quantum matrices. It's practically ancient by our standards. Zarketh's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. The Proximan fleet, 47 vessels of the most advanced design in known space, surrounded the human ship like predators, circling wounded prey. Each Proximan destroyer alone possessed firepower that could sterilize a moon. Their flagship, the Pride of Proxima, was a technological marvel that had never met its equal in battle. "Signal them," Zarketh commanded. "Standard conquest protocol." The main screen flickered, revealing the bridge of the human vessel. A single figure stood at the center, a tall human female with short cropped hair and eyes that held an unsettling calmness. Behind her, the bridge bustled with activity, but there was no panic, no desperate scrambling, just professionalism. "I am Fleet Commander Zarketh of the Proximan hegemony," he announced in the universal trade language. "You will surrender your vessel immediately. Your species will submit to Proximan authority or face extinction." The human, according to their intelligence, likely their captain, studied him for a moment before responding. "I'm Captain Maria Santos of the UES Retribution. And you've made a mistake." Zarketh's laugh was a harsh, grating sound. "A mistake? You face the might of the Proximan fleet. Your primitive vessel cannot hope to." "No," Captain Santos interrupted gently. "You misunderstand. The mistake isn't tactical. It's philosophical." "Enlighten me," Zarketh said mockingly. Santos stepped closer to her screen, and something in her expression made the temperature on the Proximan bridge seem to drop several degrees. "You assumed we were prey." "Commander," Tactical Officer Quintel's voice cracked slightly. "I'm detecting some unusual readings from the human vessel. Their power output is fluctuating in patterns I don't recognize." Zarketh waved dismissively. "Probably a malfunction in their primitive systems. Continue monitoring." On the screen, Captain Santos nodded to someone off-camera. "You see, Commander, humans have been studying your species for quite some time. We know about your conquest of the Meridians, your subjugation of the Crystal Singers, your enslavement of the ethereal collective." A cold certainty began forming in Zarketh's chest. "How could you possibly know about it?" "We know because we've been in contact with the survivors," Santos continued. "The resistance movements you thought you'd crushed. The refugee fleets you assumed had been destroyed. They've been very educational." "Commander?" Quintel's voice rose to near panic. "The human ship is. It's changing." Zarketh spun toward the tactical display and felt his blood freeze. The Retribution was indeed changing. Its hull was flowing like liquid metal, expanding and reconfiguring itself. Weapon ports appeared where none had been visible before. Energy signatures that had seemed primitive moments ago now showed readings that made their most advanced sensors scream warnings. "The Meridians taught us about adaptive hull technology," Santos explained conversationally as her ship continued its transformation. "The Crystal Singers showed us how to harmonize weapons with stellar frequencies. The ethereal collective shared their knowledge of phased reality manipulation. The Retribution had doubled in size and was still growing. More disturbing, it seemed to be existing in several dimensions simultaneously, creating overlapping images that hurt to look at directly." "What are you?" Zarketh whispered. "We're what happens when you create enough refugees," Santos replied. "When you scatter enough survivors across the galaxy. When you force enough species to abandon their homeworlds and seek sanctuary with others." Her smile was sharp as a blade. "We're the student who learned from all your victims. All ships, open fire." Zarketh roared. The Proximan fleet unleashed everything. Energy beams that could crack planets, missiles that could destroy small moons, particle weapons that rewrote matter at the quantum level, all focused on the single human vessel. Nothing worked. The attacks simply stopped. Some beams were absorbed by the Retribution's hull and converted into energy that made the ship grow larger. Others were redirected through dimensional gates that opened and closed faster than thought. Missiles found themselves flying through sections of the ship that existed in parallel realities, exploding harmlessly in spaces that weren't quite real. "Meridian absorption technology," Santos noted, watching the light show with academic interest. "Crystal Singer harmonic redirection. Ethereal dimensional phasing. And that's just the defensive systems." The Retribution finished its transformation. What had started as a simple metal warship was now a complex geometric construct that seemed to violate several laws of physics simultaneously. It pulsed with the combined technologies of a dozen conquered civilizations, each one eager for revenge against their Proximan oppressors. "Now," Santos said, and her voice carried a weight that made reality itself seem to listen, "let me show you what we learned about offense." The human ship didn't fire weapons in any conventional sense. Instead, it simply expressed disapproval. Space around the Proximan fleet began to crystallize, forming geometric patterns that trapped vessels in solid light. The stellar background started singing a harmonic frequency that made hulls resonate until they came apart at the molecular level. Reality itself seemed to reject the presence of the invading fleet, pushing them toward dimensions where they could do no harm. "Stop!" Zarketh screamed as his flagship began to phase out of normal space. "We surrender. We'll withdraw from human territory." "Human territory?" Santos laughed, and the sound harmonized with the Crystal Singer's cosmic music. "Commander, you still don't understand. There is no human territory." The Retribution moved closer, its impossible geometry casting shadows that fell upward and sideways through folded space. "There are only refugee sanctuaries," Santos continued. "Safe harbors for every species you've destroyed. Protected zones for every civilization you've scattered." Her eyes held the cold fire of stellar cores. "And we are very, very good at protecting what's ours." As the Proximan fleet found itself scattered across 17 different dimensions, each ship deposited safely but firmly in uninhabited spacelight years from any populated system, Zarketh finally understood the true horror of what they had encountered. It wasn't a human warship at all. It was a refugee rescue vessel.